Believe it or not, we're fast approaching another summer of transfer action at Ibrox. Football may be firmly on the back burner at present, but the summer window will still kick into gear in a matter of weeks as Steven Gerrard aims to freshen up his squad for whenever the Gers return to action. So there's lots to look forward to, and we'll do so in the coming weeks on Rangers News. But for now, we're going to peer back a bit and look at the 10 most expensive signings the club has ever made. We'll get into our big countdown in just a minute, but before that, we just want to thank all of those who have subscribed so far and to encourage those watching to sign up and to get on the notifications. Last week we had a look at the best wins of Steven Gerrard's Ibrox reign, and we're looking to bring you new content every week. Right, let's get going. We're starting with number 10 and the hefty £4.3 million dished out to Italian giants Lazio for Paul Gascoigne in 1995. That fee would get you a pretty decent attacker nowadays, so just imagine the quality of player it got you a quarter of a century ago. Luckily, Bears don't have to imagine, as they got to sample Gazza at his very best for 3 years. The transfer was a club record at the time, while he also earned vast wages of around £15,000 a week. After scoring a stunning length of the pitch goal in an Old Firm match early in his Gers career, Gazza went from strength to strength, scoring 19 goals in his first season and winning multiple end-of-season awards. The final year of his stay may have been a little disappointing for all at the club, but he still goes down as one of the most talented players to ever play at Ibrox. In the late 90s, the club forked out £4.5 million to bring in Dutch international Arthur Newman. The defender, who had played the entirety of his career in his homeland up until then, made the switch to join up with his compatriot Dick Advocaat in Glasgow. Newman went on to play 174 times for the club, scoring 6 goals. He suffered from a number of injury problems throughout his time in Scotland, but still managed to help the club to 10 trophies, including domestic trebles in both his first and last seasons. Sadly, Newman's time at Ibrox, and as a footballer, ended in 2003 after he failed to agree terms on a new contract, despite suggesting that he would have been willing to take a pay cut. When long-term skipper Barry Ferguson departed the club for Blackburn Rovers in August 2003, not too many Gers fans would have expected to see him back up the road just 2 years later. The official fee quoted for Ferguson's Ibrox return is £4.5 million, although the current Kelty Hearts boss did later reveal that the club only ended up paying the English side about £100,000, as they still owe the majority of their original £7.5 million transfer fee. Ferguson may be a homegrown talent, but he also gets pass marks as a big money signing after embarking on an impressive 4-year second stint at the club to add to his original 6-year spell. Ferguson is one of the most decorated players in Rangers' recent history, having won 15 trophies at Ibrox. That's 5 league titles, 5 Scottish Cups and 5 League Cups. Now, it's not often that Rangers spend big money to sign a player from Barcelona, but that was the case in August 2000 when they raided the Catalan club to bring in Ronald de Boer. The Dutchman cost a reported £4.5 million and went on to repay that healthy sum over a trophy-laden 4-year spell in Govan. De Boer may have been the slightly lesser known version of his brother Frank, who also went on to represent the club, but he certainly made a huge impression on the Gers faithful, racking up 39 goals and creating many more. He joined an ever-growing fleet of Dutch superstars in Glasgow and helped Rangers to a total of 4 trophies before departing for a final payday in Qatar. Continuing with the theme of Dutchmen, we now have Giovanni van Bronckhorst weighing in with a hefty £5 million price tag. That was the amount it took to prize him away from Feyenoord in July 1998. The fullback was thrust into the spotlight, making his debut in a remarkable 5-3 UEFA Cup win over Irish side Shelbourne in a game where the Gers trailed 3-0. Van Bronckhorst scored the 4th that night, the first of a total of 22 goals in the light blue. He made such an impression that Arsenal soon paid £8 million to lure him down south. The Dutchman then went on to play for Barcelona, where he won the Champions League in 2006, ironically beating the Gunners in the final. Very few players leave Ibrox to go on to better things, but Van Bronckhorst is perhaps one of the few who can say that they managed that. And July 1998 was a busy month of transfer activity, as the club also paid an even bigger sum of £5.5 million to recruit Andrei Kanchelski from Fiorentina. The Russian international had already played notable roles for Manchester United and Everton in the 90s and spent 4 years at Ibrox, winning 6 trophies. He scored 19 goals in total before moving on loan to Manchester City, then permanently to Southampton, before finishing his playing career in his homeland following a brief stint in Saudi Arabia. Number 4 now, and it's Miguel Arteta, who cost £5.8 million, arriving from Barcelona in 2002. The Spaniard had failed to make the cut at Barca, but had impressed during a loan spell at French giants PSG. The Paris club wanted to recruit Arteta permanently, but were outbid by the Gers in news that you would be rather surprised to hear nowadays. He scored in his first Old Firm match and also netted a memorable penalty that helped clinch the title on the final day of the 2002-2003 season. His second season couldn't quite match those treble standards, but he was still impressive individually. Soon, Arteta left for his homeland with Real Sociedad before forging a career down in England with Everton and Arsenal. Given that he played close to 300 games in the Premier League, it's rather surprising he was never capped at senior level by the Spanish national team. Now we're into the top 3, starting with Michael Ball, who cost £6.5 million in August 2001. Ball had come through the Liverpool youth setup, playing alongside current gaffer Steven Gerrard, before crossing the divide to play for Everton. The Toffees' financial woes meant that they were forced to sell him, and he chose a move to Ibrox despite having numerous offers to stay in England. The defender had an up and down few years in Glasgow, spending nearly 2 seasons in the treatment room due to a horrendous medial ligament injury. However, he did eventually return, going on to play 76 games, helping to secure the double in the 2004-2005 season. He then made the slightly surprising move to PSV before joining Manchester City and then finishing his career at Leicester. Now on to our runner-up, and a player who the Rangers support will be very familiar with. That's because he's part of the current first team setup. It says a lot about the club's acquisition of Ryan Kent just last summer that he ranks so highly in this list, despite arriving close to 2 decades after the Gers started to tighten the purse strings. £7 million is the fee quoted for his move from Liverpool, after an initial year-long loan spell had convinced the Gers support and Steven Gerrard that they wanted to see more. It's fair to say that Kent has a bit to do to live up to some of the other names on this illustrious list, but he has shown frightening ability on occasion, scoring big goals in both Europe and against Celtic. Will he go on to pay back the huge fee and faith put in him? Only time will tell. But even Kent's huge fee looks paltry in comparison to the mammoth £12 million shelled out in 2000 for Norwegian Tory Andre Flo. The big forward is often seen as a bit of a joke figure at Ibrox nowadays, given that he didn't quite live up to the hype surrounding such a record-breaking move. But the striker's numbers tell a bit of a different story. Flo bagged 38 goals in 61 starts for the club, an impressive tally which included a goal on his debut in a 5-1 win over Celtic. Flo soon left for Southampton in an £8 million deal and never recaptured the form that had earned him his big money move to Ibrox in the first place. Perhaps that's where the modern narrative of him being a flop comes from. Thanks for listening everyone, we hope you enjoyed and see you back here next week.